What if our greatest opportunities are disguised as our greatest fears? After herniating a disc in 2019, I spent years avoiding the exact route that would end up actually healing me. So even when I would do the fundamental back exercise, I referred to it as the hip extension and would perform it accordingly, further pretending that the low back didn't exist. But this avoidance would lead to the same bad luck. When I see you again. So eventually I faced the truth that the tissue is the issue. So I came back to this exercise with humility and honesty and began training the back extension. The route of regression that literally saved me and many others is from an isometric hold, building up to 2 minutes unassisted, single leg isometric hold for 1 minute each, gradual motion until you can do 30 full range reps, then working to 20 single leg full reps, then further protecting with either loading single leg or double leg. So the value in a real route isn't in the speed that you progress through it, but actually the opposite. Spending real time at each stage, giving your body a chance to adapt and find evidence to trust movement again. Like my good friend Marcus says, you have to accept your true "you are here" point. Life will expose us to the things that we hide from. So I hope this route gives you some confidence and clarity to reapproach your back head on. Okay, so I tried to be relatable. I really care about resonance. I understand that was a lot. And social media is fun to try to connect and be funny, but I do also want to break down the logistics of this, the timeline, what it really looks like, because I want it to be clear that this is not just for views. This is to educate and put this information out there. And it's just not the mass message currently out. There is so much fear around the back due to just lack of understanding. And if you're willing to listen to a 26-year-old, someone that shouldn't know about back pain, that has no clue what they're talking about, according to a lot of other people, I can tell that you're in a position where you just want answers. And that's where I had to get to when I was stuck in my injury loop year after year, 3 years straight, stuck trying things, feeling too young, too healthy to have back pain, as I was told. And now that I'm on this side, it's a huge responsibility, a blessing, sometimes a burden, with the weight of knowing how dire this is. And so not to go too deep into it, but I appreciate you watching. I want to break down the general approach to regaining the direct low back ability. It doesn't need to be complicated, but it's not going to be fast. So I'm going to break into why the back extension is the fundamental back rebuild exercise. And I do want to clarify quick that this is not where I start with people. This isn't where I could start at the beginning. There's going to be a lot of movements such as the hip mobility stuff with the split squat, with the pigeon, opening up the related areas to the back, and also the upper back ability, trap 3 raise, the pullover, regaining normal spinal curvature and just supporting the spine as a whole. It's hard to fix the back when the back isn't the only problem. The back is just the centerpiece, it's the fulcrum, there's so much that goes to it. So yeah, that's the disclaimer. After which, if you're ready to start working on your direct low back ability, I'm going to break into why this machine could be 90% of what you need. And so when we approach the back as something just to brace and to hold tight and not break, that's fine with the idea of pressure and stabilization, but what that neglects is how much tissue, if we could put on the screen all the tissue there is in the back. Interspinalis, for example, is a muscle in between every segment of the spine. You could see a layout of all the layers of spinal tissue. So no amount of bracing will restore that to be healthy. We need to try our best to round the spine at every segment and then extend the spine, not just to neutral, but even extension to every segment. If we don't face the actual abilities that we lose head on, there's no guarantee that we will get back to that ability. There's no guarantee that we can be thoughtless about our back like we were as children. And so the first step with the back extension, while the goal is to get full range, if it's been years of pain, it's not going to start there. And so what that looks like with a lot of people is an isometric hold. I talk to my clients so much about the 2 levers that we're trying to pull when it comes to the back extension. If we can't yet tolerate motion, what can we do with tension? And so there's multiple ways to stimulate any kind of structure in the back. If we can just even build tension There's trust there, there's structural adaptation, there's actually going to be changes in the back that may let you start to get a lighter than body weight, partial range, and regain some flexion. This may take weeks, months, it doesn't matter. The point is there's a route. And so if we build up to a 2-minute hold, smoke yourself on the easiest looking thing, then retest. Can I do reps? No? No problem. If we go single leg now, a 1-minute hold, and aside from just being harder, the reason the single leg hold is valuable is there's tissue that prevents lateral movement in the spine. And so now this hold may fix some of the areas that we didn't hit with the 2-leg hold. So we hold this for 1 minute. I'm gonna save you the time and the heavy breathing and dying of doing it, but it is so intense. So we get up to 60 seconds each. Through this route, most people start to feel a little more comfortable with hands on, going down a few degrees and coming back up. And for some time, your back session may be a combination of some static tension mixed with modest motion. And eventually your tolerance to both will go up. And so first step is a hold for 2 minutes. Then we go to a single leg hold for 1 minute on each leg, letting some change happen in the back, regaining some trust in motion as we start to test it week by week, getting more spinal flexion, as this is the back extension, not the hip extension machine. When my back was at its worst, I called this the hip extension. Now that my back is the strongest, it is called the back extension. I think the language represents the way we approach it. And facing it head on is just the subject line of this entire video. And so the third step will be regaining full reps, unassisted, embracing full extension, full flexion. For added stimulus and an extra twist, I've started trying to tuck my chin, lead with the head coming down, and then on the way up, do the opposite. Pick the head up, start an arch, and extend up. So we're getting the most out of the flexion on the way down, reaching the elbows out, decompressing like an inversion table, but with strength, and then doing the opposite, piecing the back together. So the way down separates segment by segment. Every piece of the spine's loosening, and then we, with strength, piece the back all back together into that braced position. So those 3 steps may take weeks, it may take less or more. The point is that you have a step to work on. It's the same thing. If you have knees that are cooked, you could do a small step, bigger step, split squat, then the freaky stuff that people show. It's the exact same thing of here, hold, single leg, reps. 4th step is single leg reps. Jefferson curl, onward, onward, onward. It doesn't stop. But the point that was liberating for me when I was 2 years back, nowhere near this, is just that there's a route. There's no more guessing. And so if I could relate to my in-person clients I've had this year, on one aspect is they will tell you that one thing they appreciate about me the most is that I will say, I don't know, 10 times a session. I have zero issue with admitting I don't have all the answers, but I found workable routes that help most people. And if you've been through the loop of back injury, in and out of doctor offices, maybe surgery, maybe other pain modalities, we're not going to speak on the effectiveness or go into the studies. That's not my role or scope. But if you've been through the ringer on that, you're probably sick of people giving you definite answers without a tangible result. And so people have felt encouraged by, if you do this thing, you're gonna feel better, but it never addressed the real issue, which is the tissue. And so they get the surgery, they get the whatever treatment, and they're still stuck. Or they're met with certainty by a credible source that you'll never be able to do this again, X, Y, Z again. And so while I bring a lot of uncertainty, I do try to lead through my honest route. And not to get too far on the tangents, it's really hard to not get all all over the place, passionate about this. If there was one thing I could have given myself with a natural route, it was just this. Slowly rebuild your back flexion. There's a reason you're scared of it. There's a reason it's so daunting. That's where the gold lies. The gold is sitting by the dragon in life. And so rebuilding all the way, stronger and stronger and stronger, the limits can go further and further. And I want to show the further levels beyond this, things that would have scared me shitless to do, now I can understand is just a level I haven't yet reached. So if we go to a back extension loaded on the neck, this would put people in a panic. You'll see comments saying, this is extremely reckless, this is dangerous. And the source may come from credibility, but not relatability. If there's anybody I've spoken to that had a bad back and rebuilt it through strengthening on a progressive level, they're not afraid of this. And so my point of this isn't to show off any kind of ability or to say you need to get to this point, but the threshold of where we call something dangerous is usually lying at where we just don't have a route. If we can't feasibly see how does a regular human being get to a certain level, we cast it off as it must be dangerous and not to be done by humans. And that is the only thing that got me out of my rut with injury, is seeing the outliers. Seeing Ben Patrick, seeing Kadorziani, seeing transformations that reminded me of what I wanted to do. And with the back, there's so much tissue, there's so many things that can affect it outside of the back. The optimistic approach that I found was, instead of trying to find exactly what was wrong with my back, just to simply look at what can I not do yet? Work backwards, find a next step. And so this was supposed to be an exercise progression video that became a lecture. So if you can decipher the tangible gold out of this, I really appreciate it. But truly, the point is, you can begin rebuilding your back to a level that is so small, anyone could do it. And I've seen this happen with people in their 60s and beyond. Teenagers, the same. Back pain does not discriminate to age. This is a universal problem. Back pain is literally one of the leading causes of disability in the country. And so we need to do better. We need to have less ego in the field. I think we need to work together much better and listen to people's stories, because that's truly what will get someone out of a funk. And I see messages every single day of people lost, and I can either feel depressed about it or angry at a system, or I can just try to go on a camera, maybe embarrass myself, maybe get shit on in the comments. But I know there's somebody out here that needed the exact route, or at least the inspiration to push on a little bit further and try new things. And to me, that's worth it. So yeah, if we could just put a quick recap on the route with the back extension. Number one, we have a two-legged isometric hold for 2 minutes. Then number two, we have a single leg isometric hold for 1 minute each side. Then we're gonna slowly regain the ability to round the back. Three, we're gonna rework in spinal flexion, regaining a full rep with 2 legs until we can get to 30 reps. Then we can start trying single leg, balancing out the left to right side, getting the nitty gritty in the spine until we can get 20 reps. Then I would say it's time to start loading through single leg, through double leg. We could do a barbell. You can use a dumbbell. You could use plates. The loading is pretty simple. My biggest recommendation would be just to not race on this. There is no end point. There is no arrival point. We just want to gradually introduce back training into our regime and never stop. If you are somebody who's had a chronic, weak back, I want you to take this approach and try to become someone with the strongest back of anyone you know. Take the weakness and make it your super strength. And just ensure this never happens. And now you can be a model for someone else, for when your cousin gets back pain, or your friend, because odds are someone you know will have it. I hope the video helps shed light on why the avoidance mindset doesn't lead you to anywhere pretty. We want to be able to move our back. There's just no way around it. If you need further help on this, I have an online program called the BBB, the Back Breakthrough Blueprint. And this is accumulation of everything with the direct low back, as well as the other factors of hip mobility, upper back ability, non-movement solutions. You get live coaching calls with me via Zoom, live training sessions. It's a full hands-on approach to try to help you with your back. Again, I'm still gonna put out free content on YouTube. I would just wanna get the information out there and educate. We're in the dark when it comes to low back issues. So I appreciate y'all. Please keep on looking for solutions. Do not give up on your body. There is hope. Rooting for y'all. Peace.